White perpetrators. So we call it accounting irregularities, and that's what white people do. Corruption is still a black thing. Jane, you know it, you know what I mean? So, I mean, the three people who were here, I think it was Thabo Mbeki, Trevor Manuel, they were talking about their parties. And I don't know when Trevor became part of the NFP, but even he knows that it's like super, super corruption is a black thing. It just is. It's the word corruption, and I've explained it before. It comes from the Greek eruptos, which means black. And it just only goes for black people. So, sorry, think about it.
So there it is.
Yeah.
Now, going back to load shedding, I believe you've got a direct line to Eskom, right?
I do.
How does that work?
So all of the DA members, we live on this one grid line. It comes from Nkandla, actually. Thank you, Jacob. But yeah, we live on this grid, and so we never get load shed. It's unfortunate because I actually like load shedding because it's like romantic and everything. And you can like watch movies and you can have candlelight. But yeah, I just, we don't get it.
Well, joining me now to discuss this, the vitriol that created, it trended for about 10 days after this interview. To discuss this is CEO of SaveTNet Cyber Safety, Rianette Leibowitz, and educational psychologist Hennie Vorster. I mean, there's a very funny lady, Coconut Kells, and people just went crazy, attacking her and just saying the most disgusting stuff. Why do they do that?
Well, I guess if you are in the public eye and you're willing to put yourself on these platforms, you need to be ready and open for any comment. And we're sitting with a digital dilemma because there are no rules really, and people think that they can do and say what they want. So on the one hand, you are opening yourself up to it. On the other hand, we as digital citizens need to be a little bit more responsible with what we say.
And what is the psychology involved in this? I mean, why do people say such disgusting stuff on social media?
I think with social media, there's no direct feedback or immediate feedback. What the result is, years ago when I was bullied at school or I wanted to bully someone at school, I would say something to them or hit them, but immediately there'd be feedback. Now on social media, there's no direct immediate feedback, so people don't always realize the implication of what they're saying and don't always realize the damage they are causing.
But they must realize, I mean, you read some of the comments that are made and they are brutal and deeply personal. So there's quite a bit of thought that goes into that.
I think so, and the fact that it's anonymous. It's an anonymous platform, although my name is there or I can go under a pseudonym, because I can say things, it gives me a false sense of bravery. I can now speak my mind and spoil my mind without immediate damage to me.
And I mean, the speed is quite incredible. I mean, my colleague Karima Brown was attacked by EFF supporters, the troll. If I interview a politician, I get lots of racist comments, and the speed at which the abuse happens is incredibly quick. Talk us through the process there.
Well, the speed is one thing. The other thing is that it's lasting. And I want to add to what Dr. Hennie was saying is that the fact that cyberbullying is so much worse than physical bullying, because you can go back and read those messages over and over, and if it's on a public platform and not on a WhatsApp, for instance, other people are reading it as well. And so the speed is the one thing. The other thing is just that we are opening up ourselves in a very vulnerable way. And the question
shouldn't have that response.
No, not at all. And you know what, at the end of the day, Jane, we need to respond in a responsible way ourselves and decide, are we actually going to allow ourselves to go and read this stuff? Do we give them any satisfaction? So, I mean, the first rule of if you're being bullied is to say, do not feed the trolls, do not engage, and actually disengage from the bullying. But for young ones especially, this is very hard. Yeah,
but what sort of impact does that have on young people who read some of the bile that's out there?
Jane, I think the difficulty these days for children and teenagers is that they are being cyberbullied so often these days on WhatsApp groups at school. People decide who's on and who's in and who's out, and they delete people off the groups, and they say things on the group, and the children have to go to school tomorrow and face it again. Physical bullying is bad, but physical bullying is a once-off. But now what's happening, people are taking photos of things, taking video shots of things and posting it on social media. And without the person being aware of it, their name is out there and the image is out there. And this causes lasting damage to people's psyche. And later on, the children, I mean, on Instagram, if they don't get enough likes on a photo they posted, they immediately take it off Instagram because I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not pretty enough. And their self-worth is being influenced by what people are saying to them. In the old days, before BC, before cell phones, my self-worth was determined by the people in my immediate environment. Now, teenagers and children's self-worth are being affected by the public at large.
I mean, shouldn't there be some sort of monitoring? I mean, how would that work? Could that ever work? Or you just shut down Twitter, wouldn't you?
Yes, I mean, if you wanted to monitor it, you will actually take away what the internet offers, and that is freedom of speech and this whole open world to explore. But maybe it's important to understand what cyberbullying is, because it's become such a hot topic that we all use it, but we might not actually understand. Maybe we are victims, or maybe we are the ones bullying someone else, and it's important to understand that it is a process of using electronic communication, whether it's images, descriptions, competitions, comparisons even, to harm someone intentionally. And you get different types of cyberbullying. One that you're mentioning is exclusion, where everyone's included in this group. You know, you're not allowed to leave the WhatsApp group, but now everyone's included in this group and you are excluded. And we think it's not a big deal, but for a young one, if you are in school and everyone's had this discussion throughout the night, you come to school the next morning and they're continuing, they're laughing, they're saying, oh, did you see the video from last night? And you don't know what they're talking about. That is quite hectic for a young person to deal with. So exclusion is one, dissing is another one, where you deliberately embarrass someone. And the problem with cyberbullying, and linking to what we said earlier, is it continues and it's a process. And that's why the harm is so much more and hectic.
But I mean, Coconut Girls was fantastic. She never rose up. She was very not even dismissive, just beautiful, because she is such a an ambassador. I'm a fan, you can tell. She didn't rise up to it. I mean, how difficult is it to not respond? What do you have to go through in your mind in order to suck that air out of that conversation?
I think what we need to understand is physiologically, the part of my brain that has logical thought connected to this is only fully developed between the ages of 18 and 25. So, and I think many adults, parts of that brain isn't fully developed in any case. But I think for children especially, when something is posted on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp about them, it's very difficult for them because they get what I call an emotional hijack. The emotions hijack all logic, all reasoning, and then they want to respond. But as soon as you respond, you just make it worse.
And how much of a South African problem is this? I mean, if you read a lot of the negative comments, it's deeply racist, it's incredibly angry. It feels that there's no sort of area to express it other than by these means.
I think it's very rife in South Africa, even on normal WhatsApp groups in circles of friends. People.
But what does it say about us?
It says, I think we are a nation full of very opinionated people.
Opinionated, angry people.
Opinionated, angry people. And I think people want channels to air their views, but they don't always realize the impact they have of it. Another thing, I mean, we spoke about WhatsApp groups that are private, but the problem is if I post something on a WhatsApp group, I can delete it, but someone can take a screenshot of what I've said, and then they can put it on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever, and then my name is associated with that. So the rule of thumb is don't post something on the internet or on social media that you aren't prepared to shout off the rooftops.
And I know people can approach you and you help them out, right?
Yes.
Is it worse for women?
No, I wouldn't say it's worse for women. We don't have statistics to prove that, and it would be a very interesting study to do. I think the impact is as intense. However, the type of attacks and bullying is different. And what we see quite a lot is, look, we get cases, people coming to SaveTNet, It's from school principals with issues at school, to parents whose kids are being bullied, to someone whose identity was stolen. So it is such a big variety of issues that you can't really say that it's worse for women than for men. And what would be interesting to see is who is willing to speak up. And yeah, at the end of the day, again, how do you manage it? Because we are open to these platforms. One thing I would like to add is that the platforms like the social media, Facebooks and so forth, are very strict in terms of what we are allowed to say. And they pick, with their filters, they pick up racism and they pick up hate speech and so forth. And they're very strict on that. So that's why we need, as users, we need to go and read the community rules for the platforms that we are on to see what is allowed and what's not.
Well, let's leave it there. I guess the message is be nice, and if you can't be nice, just don't say anything, right?
Yes.
Put the phone down. Thank you both for
remember, yeah.
talking to us. That's our show for tonight. News is next.